There's joy in the journey, peace in the climb. Even in the waiting, love's right on time. So breathe in the beauty, let go of the fear. You're not alone, joy is here.
Hey friends, welcome back to Joy in the Journey, a place where we find beauty in brokenness, strength in the struggle, and always joy in the journey. I am your host, Jaja Fortuna, and I am so very grateful to have you here with me today. Hola mi gente, bienvenidos a Gozo en el Viaje, donde encontramos belleza en el quebrantamiento, fuerza en la lucha y siempre gozo en el camino. Yo soy tu anfitriona, Jaja Fortuna, y estoy súper agradecida por tenerlos aquí conmigo hoy. Y quiero recordarles que pueden activar los subtítulos en YouTube y las instrucciones estarán en las notas o en los comentarios. Oi pessoal, bem-vindos à Alegria na Jornada, onde encontramos beleza na dor, força na batalha e sempre alegria na jornada. Eu sou sua anfitriã, Jaja Fortuna. Gostaria de lhe recordar que podem ativar os subtítulos no YouTube e para as instruções, vejam nos comentários ou nas notas. Hey joyous friends, welcome back to another episode of Joy in the Journey. I am so very thankful you're here with me today. I just want to remind you, this space is where we get to breathe, where we get to feel things fully without rushing through them or cleaning up them for someone else's comfort. This is where we speak the truth about pain and still choose joy. So today's episode is called Healing the Parts of Me No One Knew Was Hurting. And we are going to start in my lunch. Yep, I'm going to take you back to my lunch, where I was born. And I don't have many clear memories of my lunch, but I have a lot of feelings that come with my lunch. What I remember most are like flashes and moments and some sounds, pictures of me playing with rocks. I remember my grandpa and my grandma, but I also remember my 5th birthday. And maybe it's because I had just gained a little brother. It was 2 weeks before my 5th birthday party that my brother was born. So I remember that quite vividly. But more than anything, I do remember a feeling. I've always been a huge feeler. Like I've said in previous episodes, I feel a lot. And when I was little, I often had this quiet sense that I wasn't fully 100% accepted. Now, I know it sounds exaggerated because I was tiny. But before I turned 5, I didn't have the words for it. And I feel like in adulthood, I have more of the words. I feel that something in my spirit already knew what rejection felt like. Even when no one around me had said it out loud. One thing I do know is that children are very intuitive. Like, I know I was quite intuitive when I was a kid. Kids sense things adults think they don't sense. Sometimes adults think that they're hiding things well from kids, but kids just don't have the words to explain what's going on, but they sense the things that are going on around them. Before my brother was born, I think I could sense that my mom's whole focus was keeping me alive. I was her miracle, her fear, her fight. But after he came into the world, something shifted, or at least I felt something shifted. We were both born in Malange, but we do have different fathers. And I must say this in full disclosure. In my core and my deepest heart, the term half sibling never existed for me. And it wasn't used in our household, and I am so grateful for that. But the truth is that we had two different stories, and this is mine. Things shifted quietly after he was born, and this isn't about blame, it's just recognition. It's simply a soft honesty that from that point on, it felt like my presence was most noticed during my crisis. And a valuable lesson I did learn, and that came from that, was that people show up when you're sick. They hold space when you're hurting, and honestly, that's beautiful, and till this day, I cherish that. But in the ordinary, in the quiet play of day-to-day life, like, what happens then? Like, I didn't always feel seen in those moments, in the ordinary parts of life. I felt people were too busy doing what mattered to them most. So, like, what does that do to a child? For me, it was a little bit confusing. It was confusing when your identity becomes wrapped around survival and diagnosis. When love shows up most when you're in pain, you start to wonder if being okay and not in crisis makes you disappear. I didn't want to be dramatic. That was never who I was. But I did want to be noticed. Perhaps that's why quality time matters so much to me now as an adult. And somewhere along the way, I learned to hide the parts of me as a kid that weren't bleeding, so to speak. The parts that, like the soft parts, the joyful parts, the playful parts. I let the world meet my crisis and my shyness. And I wasn't so sure they wanted the rest of me. So one of my favorite authors, Anne Voskamp, wrote something in The Broken Way that have given my adult self a lot of great insight, honestly. In her book, The Broken Way, she writes, "You don't judge your feelings. You feel your feelings and then give them to God." That quote reflects the kind of healing I'm learning to heal. I'm learning still to this day to feel things deeply, but releasing it to God. Not to shove them under the rug, not to shove them down wherever it is that you shove them down, not to judge myself for them, but also not to let them control me. Don't let us not allow our feelings to control us, but let us feel fully and then surrender those feelings to the Lord. To surrender them is not to forget they exist, but it's just a healthy way. Well, at least for me, it is a healthier way that I found to cope with them, with my feelings. And I'm not saying surrender them to people. I'm saying it is okay to talk about your feelings with people and then feel them fully, but then surrender them to God. Just last week or a few weeks ago, the girls that I get the privilege of watching and love on, we're working on a butterfly project. If you've never seen this project, it's pretty cool, and I would recommend it. Parents, I urge you, if you have kiddos and they love to, this summer, if they want to be doing a project, the butterfly one is something that I totally recommend. It was so cool to see the little caterpillar that they had, and then the caterpillar turned into like this chrysalis, I believe that's the word for it. And then they got to watch, this little cocoon, and then the butterfly is coming, out of the cocoon. And I was thinking, like, that is a beautiful analogy to the things that, happen in our lives. Like, we are like caterpillars. We have to go through the hard stuff in life, and then we have the opportunity to fly, to fly like butterflies. So again, I say, as Ann Voskamp encourages us, you don't judge your feelings. You feel your feelings and then give them to God. And to paraphrase that, our feelings are meant to be felt and then surrendered to God. And I hope that you guys are able to really dig deep and heal the parts of you that no one knows, need healing. Release that little child, because that kind of release feels like mercy. It feels like grace. It's so cool and so joyous to see that butterfly just flying freely. And I want that for you guys. I want that for me. And that's why I'm here. That's why I started this podcast. Because part of my healing is storytelling. Not to blame, not to reminisce on in the ugly past, but to breathe, to heal, to name the parts of me that no one saw growing up, and to give them light now. Healing the unseen parts of us is holy work, people. And if you're carrying invisible grief, invisible rejection, invisible pain, I want you to know you are not alone. I know I say that a lot, but again, you are not alone. You don't have to prove your worth through a crisis or through a outburst. You don't have to fall apart to be worthy of care. You matter, even when you are okay. You matter. So recently, my husband and I have been talking about going to Angola to visit my family. For him would be, first time, and for me it would be to go back and see family again. And one day, the plan is to go to Malange, not to erase the pain, but to meet it with grace. To walk the streets of Malange and whisper to that little girl, you were never too much. You didn't have to be broken to be worthy of love. Especially loved by the one who registered you but kept you at arm's length. The one you longed for but didn't get to know. Although that rejection shaped me in ways I'm still discovering, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I'm healing. I am stronger today. And eu creio que a dor pode se tornar sementes em solo escuro, rompendo-se em silêncio e florescendo em uma beleza que jamais imaginamos. Eu creio que el dolor puede convertirse en semillas en tierra oscura, rompiéndose en silencio y floreciendo en una belleza que nunca imaginamos posible. And I believe that pain can become seeds in dark soil, breaking open in silence, blooming beauty we never imagined. Guys, thank you so much for listening to Joy in the Journey with me, your host, Jaja Fortuna. If this episode spoke to something deep in you, please share it with someone who needs to hear. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are not too much or broken to heal. Leave a review, message me, connect with me on Instagram. Let's build a community. I'd love to hear from you guys and what's going on in your lives. Until next time, stay soft-hearted, stay rooted, stay real, and keep finding joy even in the messy middle of your story.
There's joy